Good evening. My name is Andrew Kraft. I'm the secondary music coordinator for Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools, and I'd love to welcome you to the 41st annual Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools All-County Band. We have a few students whose names do not appear in the program because they were late adds, and those students are Hudson Maddox of Thomas Jefferson Middle School, Kanila Ross of Walkertown High School, Nick Van Note of Adkins High School, Hunter Robertson of Reagan High School, Graham Tuck of Adkins High School, Jackson Speaks of Thomas Jefferson Middle School, Maggie Lester of West Forsyth High School, and that's it. One quick thing before we continue with the program, Chohan Video, they are selling DVDs of this performance out in the lobby, so if you'd like a copy to remember tonight by, make sure you step out there. At this time, I'd now like to bring to the stage Mr. Brad Oliver, Director of Arts Education with Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools.
Thank you. So before we get started tonight, we want to do something just a little bit special. It's not every day you have this honor to honor an individual. So if I'd like to, at this time, bring Mr. Forrest Munden to the stage. About 15 years ago, Forrest tried retirement after 37 years of teaching. He said, I didn't like retirement. So he came back in the classroom, and I knew him as a band director years ago. This is Forrest's 50th year teaching. And Forrest is 77 years old. He said, I can say that, but he's going on 40. Works every day over at Walkertown Middle and High School, helping a marching band and everything. Loves every minute of it. So at this time, Andrew's going to come back over. We have something to give you.
The plaque here says, in recognition of Forrest Munden for 50 years of service as a band director in the state of North Carolina. Let's give Forrest another round of applause.
Now, so years ago, if you've been around a long time, All-County Band, I used to come out and give a baton to all the clinicians, the Ed Rooker baton, guaranteed against all wrong notes. Well, Ed passed away a few years ago. He was 80 years old. Ed was a very famous band director, played in the very first Winston-Salem Symphony as a clarinet player in 1958, I believe. And so Ed handmade these batons. I actually have the last 6 batons that Ed ever made. And Ed and Forrest were very good friends and very good band directors. And I'd like to present this baton, guaranteed against all wrong notes, and it is out of the last batch that Ed ever made.
Just want to say thank you, Brad, for such an honor of being here. And I often tell Brad that I keep teaching until I get it right. And so, and the reason why I say that, because ever since I've been in Forsyth County, I've worked at different schools. I worked at Mineral Springs, I worked at Mellowlock, so I had a sort of diverse experience. Wally, Paisley, I can keep on naming schools where I worked. And each place where I worked has been a teaching experience for me. And I've gotten better as a person, and have gotten better as a teacher as well. So I keep doing this until I get it right. Just want to say this to the parents. Being in Forsyth County is an honor. And parents, your children are in great hands with these directors. You have some very fine, fantastic band directors in Forsyth County. Thank you very much.
I don't understand why children grumble. So every year I beg to be on the mic, and I got my opportunity again this year. You're welcome. That'll be $20. I expect that later. Hey, shh, keep it down over there. Children these days, I'm telling you, what are you going to do? Shh. It's not good. So I was told by Mr. Oliver, our program manager, to behave. Right. I love me too. So what we're going to do is I'm going to talk. It's good. It's going to be fine. So I'm Adam Joyner, for those who don't know, and bless you. I'm the band director at Jefferson Middle School, where I torture children daily. It's super fun. Thank you. Feel free to throw more money at that, too. I'm here to introduce your clinician for the middle school concert band. I've had the great fortune of working with their conductor for the past 3 years while he's been at Mount Tabor High School. He is a young teacher. I have watched him do unbelievable things in the classroom, on the marching band field, with students that I tortured. So I know he's magical. You know who you are. But Mr. Choate is an exceptional teacher, and he has an ear that I just don't know that I can ever compare to. I hope that my children will have the opportunity to be able to learn from him, as your children have on this stage this past weekend. They have been very fortunate, and they've learned a lot whether they know it or not. They're going to sound amazing. So without further ado, I welcome Mr. Colin Choate and the middle school concert band.
Okay, we're going to play. Is it on? No? Is it? Okay, I am coming through. It's hard to tell from here. So that first piece was called The Titans. You're going to see on your program there are like 9 pieces listed for this band. We're not going to play all 9. and we're not going to take an intermission between our pieces. We're going to do 4 pieces. So the first one was the Titans. It is a march, not your typical march, especially if you are really familiar with band music. It's a little more modern sounding. And the second piece we're going to play for you right now is just kind of a fun, exciting piece called Storm Surge. It's always a challenge to put it. It's a lot of fun. It's really rewarding to put stuff that's fast and has a really consistent tempo, and it's high energy in front of middle school bands, in front of any level band, because that's something like we all get, we all understand. The real challenge and the thing that I wanted to focus on the most this weekend, in our essentially just one day that we had to prep for this concert, was expression and emotion, and how we can do that with music, and making music more than just black dots on a page or pitches and rhythms, but something that's actually like expresses something that's probably, I think, deep within all of us. And this next piece allowed us that opportunity, and it was tough. We spent a lot of time on it, and I think it took a while to understand, like, why are we doing this, and you know, is this valuable, and is it worth it? And I think what I saw this morning from the group is they finally understood, like, oh my gosh, this is what you can do with music, and it's something that's going to be really special. This next piece, it's super exposed. It has a lot of room for error, but the group handled it so well. It's been such a mature group, and it's been just such an incredible pleasure to work with an entire room full of students that went out of their way to be able to play in a band on a Saturday. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't just show up for class because their parents signed them up for it or whatever. These are students who they made an effort, and they made it their point to be able to do something extra. And it's been a real joy to be able to work with them and be able to do something really expressive like this. And if anyone's a fan of of famous old ballads. It starts with Danny Boy, if you know the tune, and then it moves into another kind of upbeat Irish jig type thing. So this next piece that we're going to play is Celtic Air and Dance number 2.
All right, it's my pleasure, as always, as Colin is the band director of the year, voted on by all the band directors. And at this time, now, we started this a couple years ago due to a Wells Fargo and Arts Council grant. Part of being band director of the year, those who remember from last year, he gets a free trip, all expenses paid, airfare and everything, to Chicago to the Midwest. It's the largest band and orchestra convention in the world. Bands from Japan and everywhere are there. And so you'll be able to go and see that as part of this award. Thanks to Wells Fargo and the Arts Council. So at this time, we'll present you a plaque of South County Band Directors Association, recognizes Colin Shote as Director of the Year 2018. Congratulations.
Is that better? My name is Danny Green. I'm the director of the Wachovia Winds Youth Music Ensembles. We've been going for several years now. One of the main goals we had when we started the group was to support the bands in Piedmont, North Carolina, and the band directors and the band students, give the band students another opportunity to perform and meet other students. It's a lot like what we have in All-County. It's just on a regular basis. So far, we've had over 1,000 students from over 30 schools participate with us. And that's and I know a lot of the kids that are here tonight have participated with us. But what I'm here for, another way we want to support our bands and band directors is a few years ago we started making an honorarium for the band director of the year. And this year is especially important to me. I know when Colin first got here, I got to be his mentor when he first started teaching here. And what that meant was I got to go watch him every couple of weeks and learn better ways to do things, you know. So I was really appreciative of that. Super special is that I was the band director at Mount Tabor throughout the 80s and 90s, and Colin is now the band director at Mount Tabor. When I was at Mount Tabor, I was the band director of the year, and all those kinds of things. And something Colin really has to look forward to, when I was the band director at Mount Tabor, my waist size was the same size as Colin's. So there's really heavy things for him to look for, you know? But we're really honored to give Colin a check for being selected as Band Director of the Year and really appreciate the great work he's doing at Mount Tabor High School.
So I know for a short portion of the concert, I've really sort of talked quite a bit already, but I can't stress enough how amazing it's been to work with the children on stage yesterday and this morning. It's a really, really incredible group, and we owe a lot of that to their band directors, who are most of which are really, really close friends of mine, or even one of them's married to me. So we're kind of friends, I guess. But especially, I think it says a great deal about you all as the parents, or if they've got an older sibling out there that's kind of shown them the way through band. It's pretty amazing. So I'm just so appreciative of this. And our last piece that we're going to play today for you is "Born to Be Wild."
Good evening, and we thank you for your patience this evening as we've made this quick change of the stage and chairs and stands. It takes a village to pull this off, and thank you for that. My name is Kim Bounds. I am the band director and piano teacher at Mineral Springs Middle School, and it is an honor and a privilege to introduce to you our clinician for our 2018 Symphonic Band All-County experience this weekend. He is both a friend and a colleague. He has been in the education business for 26 years. 20 of those years he spent just down the road in Hickory, North Carolina at Arndt Middle School, and he is now in Johnson City, Tennessee with his wife Tracy and his 2 children. He has pushed and challenged and these students this weekend, and they have risen to the occasion, and you are in for a real treat this evening with your children. So if you will please help me welcome Mr. Kevin Howard to the stage.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Howard. I will not speak very much tonight, not because of a lack of words, more because of a lack of voice. Been fighting a little head cold all week, but also teaching for the past day, it kind of wears on me a little bit. So that was Lanterns in the Sky. It was written by composer Rob Romaine about a hot air balloon festival. So the lanterns in the sky would be the hot air balloons, and it was meant to be very grand, very glorious, and I think those folks did an excellent job with that piece of work. Give them another round of applause. The next selection is Shaker Variants. It is exactly as it sounds. A variance would be variations upon, and shaker would be the shaker melody or shaker tune or Appalachian Spring or 'Tis the Gift or however you know that song to be. I'm sure you'll recognize the melody. It starts out at about a medium pace, drops down to a very slow, somber middle section, and then kicks up and ends kind of fast and lively. So this is Shaker Variants. This next piece, not to be a Debbie Downer, next piece, A Kind and Gentle Soul, was commissioned by a middle school band who unfortunately lost a student. The student passed away, and they paid composer James Swearingen to write this piece of music. It's very peaceful and calm, as the title would imply. What you should know about the student, and I just impress this upon you to maybe think about the person in your life that represents this. According to the band director and his fellow students, he was just that person when walked in the room, just made everybody feel good. Always had a smile on his face, always had a positive attitude, always just embraced the moment and made all the folks around him feel special and feel important. And I'm sure all of us have somebody like that in our lives. And so when this band lost this student, it was devastating to them. So here's our rendition of A Kind and Gentle Soul. The next piece, Jungle Dance, the composer put in the composer notes that it just represents a celebration of life in the jungle, not a particular people, but all things living, animals, nature, people, whatever it may be. And there's basically two main themes that are introduced at the beginning of the piece, and they get bounced around throughout the duration of the piece from section to section. So here's our rendition of Jungle Dance. While they're switching to the last tune, I want to tell you just what a pleasure it's been to be here. Short, just very, very brief story. So I taught in Hickory for 20 years. In fact, side note, if this is okay, I've got two former students somewhere in the balcony, Jim and Julie. Where might you be? I'm not sure. Anyway, I got a message right before the concert started that said, hey, Mr. Howard, our daughter's in one of these bands. So that's kind of cool. So, hey, Jim and Julie, I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that your daughter was in one of the bands. That's awesome. So I told the kids, I said, you know, for 20 years, this system had a reputation of being one of the finest music systems in the state of North Carolina. And for 20 years, I thought, maybe they'll ask me to come be one of the clinicians. And then it didn't happen, and so I moved to Johnson City, Tennessee, and a few more years go by, and I get the phone call, and I thought, yes, it's finally happened. This is awesome. So I told the kids, I was like, you know, you've been working towards this for a year or 2 years. I've been working for 26 years to get this gig, and I am thrilled to be here, so thank you for having me. There is a long line of some pretty fantastic band programs in this county, and I'm sure you're aware of that. Some of those directors are still with you, and I joked with them earlier. I said, you know, between the two of you, there's about a century's worth of band directing, so it's awesome that they're still part of the program. I want to thank Mr. Oliver for the invitation and Mr. Kraft for allowing us to be here. I certainly want to recognize the middle school band directors that work with these folks every day, so if you'll give me an opportunity to thank them. Middle school band directors, you're doing an awesome job because these kids are fantastic. So please join me in thanking all of their band directors. It's been a pleasure to be here. We're going to close with a circus march called Grand Gallop. We hope you enjoy it and maybe get a little, you know, little something going on. Thanks a lot. Have a good evening.
Good evening. My name is Ron Forsch, and I am the band director at Clemens Middle School. It is my honor and pleasure and privilege to introduce the conductor, the clinician over the course of this weekend of the band that you are about to hear perform. I taught in this county starting 15 years ago and been in a lot of different places. And I left for 2 years to teach band in New York City, and now I'm back. So I think it's very fitting that I get an opportunity to introduce this clinician because he's been so dear to me, as this county has been, as have been the students that I've taught over the years, and these great directors that I get to come back and call colleagues. So I want to thank them for welcoming me back in. I want to thank the parents and the students who worked hard, former and my current students at Clemens. There's so many things I can say about this clinician, but I want to make sure I focus on the things I get to say. And the things I get to say is just tell you a story about a young man who was coming in to break the Atkins High School band out of the box with me as a second-year teacher. And one thing I want to make sure you know is that this clinician is a product of Forsyth County. Not only was he my first drum major at Atkins High School, but he mentored and shadowed several directors in this county and has the utmost respect for them as they do him. And I know that they share me in the honor that it is to welcome a son of Forsyth County back to this auditorium to conduct a band that he played in under students, with students that were sitting in his same spot. He attended Winston-Salem State University, got a master's in conducting at Messiah College in Pennsylvania, things that you can read in the program. But I will say that I had great experiences with him arranging music as a high school musician, learning. And you heard from Danny Green and Forrest Munden, who have years and years in this profession. And they talked about how they go to work and learn how to teach every day, and it's something that you always learn from. Well, I consider myself a better teacher because of the students that I've had, and he is right at the top of the list. He has music in him. He has drive in him. He's an amazing church performer and church musician, and he's a great leader and teacher. He did some great work with a band in Florida and brought them all the way here to march and perform at Winston-Salem State University's homecoming. And that band grew, quadrupled in size, and went from low ratings to superior ratings in the state of Florida after all of his time in tutelage here in North Carolina. So this is very special. Your kids, congratulations to all of them who made this band, worked really hard, and he really pushed them. This band is not constructed the way it was when he was a student in Forsyth County, and he has some younger players on this stage, freshmen and sophomores, and he came up here and he pushed them. And the music that's in him, he got out of them. And I think that all of these students would agree with that. The parents are about to see, and the conductors, the directors in the county that saw him work will get to see as well. So I think I covered the main thing. I'm good with this introduction. There are a few people in here, his old chorus director at Atkins High School, that talked about him writing music for their choir, rearranging Danny Boy, and then subsequently playing it and posting it with his wind ensemble down at Heritage High School in Florida. So again, music is in him. We love his family. He's a son of Forsyth County. And welcome to the stage, Mr. Brandon Jenkins.
Before we play our last number, the Mambo, I would just like to thank the band directors of Forsyth County. As Mr. Forrest mentioned, I am a product of Forsyth County, and it is just so great to be home. And I really appreciate you guys for having me. Thank you. The interesting thing about tonight is, with the exception of Dr. Michael Magruder in his absence, just about everyone who has had a part of teaching me how to be a band director is here tonight. And it starts with Mr. Forrest, even Jonathan Hamill at my time at Downtown Middle School. But particularly as I went to Winston-Salem State University, I had the privilege to student teach with some awesome directors. Andrew Kraft at Reagan High School at the time, and Matt Liner at Meadowlark Middle School. And I will say that I learned a lot. And those guys worked me. And I felt super prepared to go out into the workforce and to be a band director. And I've had some great successes. And I attribute a lot of that to the band directors that are here today. So for students in this group, some of them may want to be a band director. I'm proof that you can do it and be successful as a product of this Forsyth County school system. I am just elated again to be here. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope you enjoy our last number, the Mambo, as we celebrate Leonard Bernstein's 100th year anniversary.
That's the coolest mic stand. I always see people struggle. I got to get me one of these. What a great evening. And I really thank Ms. Hughesball for giving me the opportunity to introduce the next clinician. But first I want to say what a great evening. This was over 300 students from over 20 schools came together 2 days and made something that was just absolutely beautiful and positive and any other adjective you can give it. You know, it's just, don't let anybody ever tell you there's anything wrong with our children, okay? This is just great. What if that many kids did something negative? We'd make the national news, you know, but these are the things that people need to know about. Our next clinician, and this I've been blessed with her for so many years now. It was a while back, she was actually in my middle school band, you know, so I got to see her from the very beginning, and she was just as meticulous and assiduous then as she was with tuning the kids just now, you know, and it helped me a lot having such a wonderful student. And then several years later, she was in college, and she got to do her student teaching with me and taught me a whole lot more stuff. And I'm really pleased that she's been given this honor, and I am so proud of her that I just don't really know what to do. I see her about once a year now, and it's always a treat. But she's also a product of our own school system. In fact, she went here to Reynolds, you know, so she's pretty familiar with this, just like Mr. Brandon was a drum major at Atkins. It's been a pleasure to watch these young folks grow and work, and now they're not so young anymore, and they've certainly accomplished a lot more than I ever have. But it's been just a blessing to me to be a little bit of it as they've been growing up and learning and producing great results different places. So I want to present to you one of my favorite students of all time, Dr. Tika Douthit.
Microphone check. Oh, here we go. Sorry. Thank you, everybody. My name is Tika Douthit, and I am the Assistant Professor of Music and Assistant Director of Bands at Winston-Salem State University. And it is my tremendous honor and pleasure to be able to take a moment in this nostalgic space for me and have this opportunity to work with these students. This has been a fantastic weekend. I have really, really pushed them. Sorry, I'm trying to catch my breath. That first one was a good one. It's been a really, really great time this week. I have really, really pushed them to the limit. We have some pretty difficult music that we've prepared. So I'm hoping that we're all in prayer with one another tonight because we've only had 2 days to really work through it. So I'm really excited. Our first piece was Down East Fanfare by Jack Stamp. Our second piece is going to be Along an English Countryside by Richard Saucedo. It's going to feature a lot of soloists in the group, so you'll get to hear people individually, which we love to showcase the talent of our students in this group. And then we'll follow that with a very beautiful setting of Amazing Grace by Frank Tekeli. Thank you. Our next two pieces, this next one is a traditional march by John Philip Sousa. We all love a little bit of Sousa. Every good concert band program needs a good march, which is why I selected that. And then we'll conclude with our final piece, Fusion. It is 3 movements, so feel free to hold your applause until the after of the third movement, the performing of the third movement. And it's titled that because it is a fusion of different styles, mixed meter, a little bit of Irish melody influence, along with a little bit of jazz bebop kind of things going on. So a lot of, sort of a melting pot of different musical styles and conventions. So hopefully you guys will enjoy these last 2 pieces. Thank you all so much. It's really been my pleasure to work with these guys so much. I want to say thank you to all of the high school band directors. You guys are doing a fantastic job. I have put literally stuff that's almost impossible in front of them. So I'm just so excited at their level of proficiency. So thank you all so much. And our last 2 pieces, here we go.
Thank you.